Don't know if it's working yet.
Yeah. Look in the top right-hand corner. It's live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're live. I think.
Yes, and this has been a superbly professional opening.
I've done hangout before. It was with hello everybody. I've done one hangout before. It was with Mr. Coughlin. It took, I think, 5 attempts to open the live stream, which meant I had to create 5 separate events, not knowing that I could just press record and then, you know, it all comes on. So sorry about the wait, guys.
Also, I love the idea of that, because with you and Coughlin in the room, it's simultaneously both like the immovable object of unprofessional YouTuber and the fucking irresistible force thereof, as well as the bearded mangina equivalent of that as well. I love it.
Bearded baby and Coughlin, yeah. It's like a before and after, isn't it? Me compared to him. You know,
well, exactly. Look at you. We were just talking briefly before starting about his baby face and the fact that he looks like a baby with a beard. And a picture of you and Coughlin next to each other is basically an advert for "Don't do drugs."
my memory is also an advert for "Don't do drugs." My lack of being on time is evident of me smoking weed for about 15 years. It just sort of slows you down a little bit, you know. Don't do drugs, kids, ever.
Yeah, no.
Apart from on weekends, which is so much.
Well, my advice is do lots of heroin, kids. Seriously, life's shit. So
there you go.
All right. So,
by the way, the fact that I've said that now means this is definitely getting demonetized. So,
before, as I opened, created the event, it was like, no, this isn't for us. No, it's not even started yet. But no, you're not having any money from us at all. In fact, I don't know whether this is the $60 payout on YouTube. That's when you get your first payment. And over the year and a half I've been on this channel, I've earned $53, right? So it's just always going to be there saying year and a half's worth of stuff. You can't have shit from us ever. It's never going to reach that bit because no video ever gets monetized anymore. And it really is frustrating.
I'm $3 away from my payout, which is $100 here, right? And I'm $3 away, and I'm like, come on!
With the demonetization, I mean, not to make it about this because it's nothing to do with the fucking hangout, but it's so arbitrary. Like my video where I put out a 40-second clip of my cat playing with string, that got demonetized. Whereas the video, which is literally called "Does Millennial Woes Want to Bum Dogs?" that's fine.
Give us a spoiler. Does he want to bum dogs? I don't know if I've seen that video.
Well, there's a question mark at the end of the sentence, so you'll have to watch and find out, I suppose.
Oh, God.
We're keeping it highbrow here in this hangout, boys and girls.
Exactly. If you wanted high culture and seriousness, don't fucking invite me. That's not what happened.
Never.
But you know, one wonders that if he's getting his end away, as it were, why is he still so miserable? It doesn't really make any sense, does it? You know.
Exactly. Well, I'd say
I think we may be thinking too heavily about this. Or at least I am, anyway.
Exactly.
We can move on.
If bestiality isn't making you happy, stop.
Yeah.
That is a lesson that I want everyone to take away from this hangout. If you have any questions about bestiality, please make sure you ask them in the live chat. I'm trying to keep it professional now. So basically, this hangout is we're gonna celebrate the end of Milo's career. You may argue that I'm wrong about that. But I think he's pretty relevant now. Obviously, the scandal from I don't know about a year ago now, where he essentially defends Surrey. And also, you know, he just never recovered from that. And he did a free speech week last, let's say about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, free speech week, which lasted 20 minutes, where he didn't even get to speak for longer than 10 minutes in front of, I think it was 20 of his own fans, where he just gave up near the end and just started signing autographs, which was hilarious. obviously he claimed it as a victory because the university spent $500,000 on security. So somehow he's won. I don't know the logic in that. Maybe we can discuss that later on. But of course, he's got a book which came out 3 months ago, and sort of advocate for being on time. A mere 3 months later, we're now going to read bits from his book and take the piss out of him, basically. Also, we've got stuff like the Mouthy Buddha controversy from last week or so, and Richard Spencer was at the University of Florida and he got booed throughout, but I imagine he saw that as a victory somehow. I've kept a little eye on that, but I'm sure you two have been watching that event a little bit more than I have, because just before I hand over to you, it's I think I've mentioned the word Nazi on Twitter more than once a day, every day this whole year. It's becoming the most depressing fucking... Yeah, you wouldn't have thought 2016 could be topped as far as depressing events go, but we're certainly giving it a run for its money at the moment. I don't know if you agree on that, but...
Two points. Firstly, I'm disappointed that you missed the obvious segue of talking about dogs' arseholes. Let's get on to Milo. Right? Straight away. You've embarrassed yourself there.
Let's just quit now.
And secondly, as much as it is depressing 2017, what I have to say is one thing I have enjoyed, and the year started this way, was the first proper meme of this year was punching Nazis. So that's something. It's a straw to hang on to, you know.
God, that was this year, was it? It feels like about 2 years ago, that Spencer punch thing, but it was in the inauguration, I should say, which was in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
It feels like ages ago.
I'm sure he's still feeling it.
That's because with Trump, especially in America, and obviously Brexit to a certain extent, is that you have what would usually be like a year's worth of scandals every fucking week. So it just feels like time fly, and you just think, what the fuck? How was that only a few months ago? That's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah.
We were worried that, on a slightly separate note, we were worried that it would be, because you cannot parody what is already the most ridiculous thing in the world, Trump and so forth. But to his credit, Stephen Colbert, who is the master, and I love him, he's done really well. He's got the biggest audience he's ever had, and it keeps growing. And I think Jimmy Kimmel recently decided to be more political, and he has massively increased his audience as well. It's a shame they don't really bother doing it in the UK. There's not really anything, there never has been. They've always wanted to do a UK version of The Daily Show. I'm going slightly off tangent here, but it just really bugs me, so I thought I'd mention it.
Do you remember that fucking god awful piece of shit that
Channel 4?
No, Marcus Brigstock and Anne Robinson did, which was sort of an equivalent, and it was atrocious. It was the worst show ever. So
well-known comedian Anne Robinson.
Well, exactly. That's the odd thing, because Marcus Brigstock is an actual comedian and all the rest of it, whereas Anne Robinson's just a fucking harpy. So I mean, I don't know why they got her in to do that. That's really strange. Anyway.
For people outside of Britain, Anne Robinson is the presenter. I don't know if they showed those programs in America, but they've certainly made it with her in America, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have it here, and well, they had it here. She was a cranky bitch.
Well,
that's her whole shtick.
I know. She was a cranky bitch.
So why they got her on to do a co-hosting of like a comedy news thing with an actual comedian? I never quite understood, but that was, yeah. That's if you're going to cast things that badly, that's why a show like that will never get off the ground here, because people will just not watch it. You know. Whatever. Anyway, are we going to be talking about Milo fucking Snuffleupagus wank face?
Excuse me. We certainly will. Now, let me just grab my phone. I sent you both privately a link of the chapters available in the book. So for the purposes of the viewers now, I'll read them out. My phone. We've got several chapters here, and they all have the theme. I wonder if anyone can spot the themes. Okay, number 1, why the progressive left hates me. Number 2, why the alt-right hates me. Number 3, why Twitter hates me. Hated you put it in the right terms. Number 4, why, bye Milo. Well, number 4, why feminists hate me. obviously, you know, tick all the boxes, buzzwords. Number 5, why Black Lives Matter hates me. Number 6, why the media hates me. Number 7, why establishment gays hate me. Number 8, why establishment Republicans hate me. Number 9, why Muslims hate me. Number 10, why gamers don't hate me. I can tell you why. You don't need a fucking more than like a sentence for that. My college tours are so awesome. Possibly the answer is because they keep getting cancelled, but I'm sure he's not going to go on that one there.
See, the thing he's missed that would actually make this book interesting is a chapter called "Why I Hate Me."
Yes, yeah, very much so. There is an epilogue: how to be a dangerous faggot (brackets) even if you're not gay. I'm tempted to read that one out first, but I think we need to get to the bulk of it. So, with topics, I'll quickly go through the buzzwords again, and we'll pick one of them. I suppose that's how it works. So, why the left, the alt-right, Twitter, feminists, BLM, establishment gays, establishment Republicans, Muslims, and then obviously why gamers don't hate me. Anyone pick your?
I quite like the idea of Muslims. Why do Muslims hate him? It's not as if he talks about them like they're subhuman. So I mean,
Okay.
I'm curious.
Right. He puts quotes at the start of every chapter, and the idea is to make other people rather than him, so he can be all high and mighty. So he's got earlier on in the book, he's got quotes by Amy Schumer and you know, various comedians which look like horrible comments, but of course, you know, it's just him picking and choosing something to make him seem like what he's saying directly after that is fine. He can then be offensive himself. I don't know if that makes any sense. So there's a quote here from Alexis de Tocqueville, Tocqueville. But the quote says, "I studied the Quran a great deal. I came away from that study with the conviction that there have been few religions in the world as deadly to men as that of Muhammad." So it's building up. It starts off the chapter with, you know, that's a controversial statement, but here's why they're right. Essentially,
yeah.
This one starts off with, "I'd really hate to be thrown off a roof." That's it. That's the opening. That's the opening bit. There's a full stop at the end of it.
Well, why did he hate gravity so much then? I mean,
I'd really hate to be thrown off a roof. In the summer of 2015, it just goes off on a tangent from there. In the summer of 2015, Europe opened its doors to millions of people who'd very much like to kill me, most likely. After a picture of a drowned Syrian boy went viral, globalist elites like Angela Merkel, she's a globalist elite is a Jew, isn't it, in their world? I'm pretty sure she's not Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sympathy to lower the drawbridge of an entire continent, welcoming millions of Muslim migrants, that's a tongue twister, and moving another step closer to eliminating national borders.
Well, can I just point out, this is always worth mentioning with Milo Yiannopoulos and so many of these supposedly anti-immigrant folks, is that Milo Yiannopoulos is not fucking British by birth. Now, I've got no problem with anyone who wants to come here and make a better life for themselves, but don't try and pull up the ladder behind you, you prick.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just let's clarify something. He often goes on about how he's Jewish and everything, but doesn't he? Like,
yeah,
quite.
Yeah,
he's not very Jewish. Let's put it that way.
He needs to be, you know, for publicity.
Exactly. Yeah, and also I quite like the fact that it's again another example of this. Oh, identity politics is terrible, but I can't be anti-Semitic because I'm, you know, 1/16 Jewish or something. Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous.
yeah, because no Jew has ever hated themselves.
Well,
Never.
we mentioned briefly Mouthy Buddha earlier, and his response to his accusations of being anti-Semitic was, "I'm Mexican," as if Mexicans can't be anti-Semitic. What are you talking about, you twat?
Exactly.
The self-hating Jew thing. I watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm always really, really gutted that the entire program is him hating himself. I just can't get my head around it. You know, it's bizarre. Anyway, the implicit message from the media was clear: all migrants are just like the drowned boy. Wait for it. Innocents fleeing oppression, hunger, and death in war-torn Syria. In reality, fewer than half the people admitted to Europe in the months following the viral photo were from Syria. Most weren't refugees at all. They were economic migrants from regions of the world even more radical than the country that currently hosts the Islamic State. I'm not sure about that.
Well, there's so much wrong with that, right? Firstly, they weren't saying all migrants are like that. They were just saying, look, this is really bad. People are dying, right? That's the point of that image. Fine. And of course, it's true because there was at least one dead child, and the Mediterranean is essentially a massive fucking grave.
Yeah.
Two, right? He's saying, oh, only so many of them are from Syria, as if Syria is the only country in the world which one might want to escape because of civil war and terrorism and just generally being economically shite, right? Jesus Christ. Secondly, you talk about economic migrants. You are literally a two-time economic migrant, Milo, so shut the fuck up. Another point would be that there is more than one country which is currently the host of the Islamic State. They spread their base was always spread across both Iraq and Syria. So to say the country is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, look, these are.
But apart from the various mistakes in every sentence of that little stanza, brilliant point, Milo. You fucking cock.
Well, I see what I mean. I don't even know if he even believes what he's saying, but it's all dog whistles. The whole thing you just read there was like a massive dog whistle. That's all it was. It's the buzzwords, right? That these horrible people pick up on. So yeah, that's what he's doing.
You mentioned that because, of course, the last week has been focused on buzzwords and people just not understanding what one is. You know, it's it's not a buzzword to put the number 23 in a video. This is Buddha's video. It's not a buzzword to put pills in a video to suggest red pilling. It's not. It is a dog whistle to go on about fucking Jews and how they're horrible and stuff. You know, that's kind of a fucking.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that later on. Sorry, I'm riding myself up unnecessarily. He finishes that sentence with, and they certainly weren't boys, referencing the fact that there was a article saying some of the people being let into a certain country are not teenagers or young men. They had like facial hair and stuff, because you never see the world with facial hair at the age of 13. You don't at all, do you?
No, never.
No.
Never.
And also, it's interesting that Milo mentions that they certainly weren't boys, because he's given a talk previously saying that the Catholic Church has gotten everything correct, which means that surely the only reason he's annoyed that they aren't boys is because Catholic priests won't be able to get an erection from them. So, I mean, presumably. So not only is this thing it's not getting monetized, this is definitely getting flagged. You're welcome.
I can appear in YouTube bastards who just I'm going to get flagged by association, you little twats. Anyway, what's worse than all of that is you did a priest. My brain was instantly trying to think of more. This is the world. My brain only works one way, unfortunately. Globalist media and political elites sought to extend the rare moment of pro-migrant sentiment for as long as possible. Journalists flocked to German train stations to take pictures of teary-eyed liberals holding placards stating refugees welcome and hugging the smirking new arrivals. Smirking! They're over here and they're smirking!
They're smirking!
And I love the fact that he's doing in word form the kind of genuinely sort of Nazi propaganda image of the smirking husky hairy creature with hook noses, and they're smirking. Look, it's cartoonish evil or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also,
exactly.
take into account that most of his articles on his own website for Breitbart and basically on Facebook are all ghostwritten. He doesn't really do any work. He's always had the reputation of employing unpaid interns to basically pump out hate for him. And there's a chance this book wasn't even written by him. So that's a new low, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll carry on. Over 1 million Muslims poured into the Mediterranean to cross into Europe. How dare they escape war and famine? Anyway, it only took a few months for this leftist dream to turn into a nightmare. A nightmare. On New Year's Eve 2015, here we go, the new arrivals introduced Germany to Muslim misogyny. An estimated 2,000 migrants acting in gangs, just near each other, unleashed Teruja Gamia. I may have said that poorly, an Arab word meaning collective sexual harassment, which definitely he didn't make up, I'm sure, on German women returning from and attending New Year's celebrations. Hasn't that been thoroughly debunked?
Yeah.
There were some attacks, but it's not to the extent that people like Kraut and T try to make out a while ago.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, there was obviously a fucking issue, of course. But it was essentially this idea that there were thousands and millions of Muslims raping every woman in the world is just a right-wing fever dream. They wanted that to exist, and it didn't happen.
Right. Where was I?
Attacks
took place in the cities of Cologne, Hamburg, Frankfurt, Dortmund, Dusseldorf, and Stuttgart. By night's end, at night's end, police estimated that at least 1,200 women have been groped or otherwise sexually assaulted, including at least 5 rapes. It was the worst night of sexual assaults in Germany since the Red Army's invasion. Bloody commies, you know? nice crowbar.
Also,
nice crowbar, Milo.
So I think that perfectly sums up a point that I've made a million times before. That they, when a Muslim is the supposed assailant, as it were, they instantly do listen and believe. Whereas when it's a white person that might be a bit rapey, or even the occasional black one like Bill Cosby, you can't trust women. Women make shit up all the time.
That's a good point. Yeah, exactly.
I think the ultimate example of that is the Brock Turner case from a couple of years ago, who the judge went, well, he's got a lot of academic credentials here. He could possibly be a gold medal swimmer. So, yeah, let's let him off. He only raped someone behind a dumpster. Let's let him off. It's fine, you know, which was lovely to watch and read. And having everyone support him and the judge's position just because they thought it would trigger people and whatnot. I don't know.
And it's not like we haven't seen some women making up shit stories that some Muslim person tried to rape her, right? I mean, we've seen these coming out now, right? So
right. So I just had an idea. Germany was not alone. Sweden, which welcomed more than 140,000 migrants, was also beset by sexual assaults. A report from the Gatestone Institute referred to a, quote, summer inferno of sexual assault in Sweden. This was largely, that's a joke. This was largely, because it sounds like a porno title in a way. Anyway, I'm digging myself a hole. This was largely suppressed by the police. It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't need to. Doesn't need to. He got a laugh. He gives a fuck.
This was largely suppressed by the police and media. Of course it was. Analysing Swedish crime data, the report found a particular surge in group sexual assaults on girls aged 14 to 15. Virtually all the apprehended attackers were, hang on, wasn't this an event that was held about midnight?
Yeah.
Young people should be out after dark. I mean, I am saying that because they are quite annoying. But, it does seem a bit erroneous, this one. Virtually all of the apprehended attackers were citizens of Eritrea, which I'm sure is a bit weird, isn't it?
Eritrea, you.
I can't read. My cap.
Also, can I just mention, right, the idea, if the title of this thing is, or if it mentions the words summer inferno of sexual assault, I'm going to guess the Gatestone Institute might be a little bit biased.
Yeah, definitely.
That doesn't sound like that's coming from a real sort of academic source, really, to me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like it.
Like I don't think fucking Einstein was going on about a summer inferno of warped space time. Like that's not how academics talk.
Oh,
virtually all of the apprehended attackers were citizens of Afghanistan, Eritrea, or
Yeah,
Somalia. 3 of the 4 largest refugee. Are you reading this along with me?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Need some more help in the future.
I can take over if you want, but I thought you were doing such a fucking brilliant job of pronouncing names. I'd let you do better.
Various Swiss cities, as well as others throughout Europe, began handing out flyers to incoming migrants, explaining why groping women and bashing gays is bad. Thanks to Muslim immigration, Sweden now has rape statistics approaching what feminists in the US claim.
It's interesting that he seems annoyed that they would try and explain to people that groping women and bashing gays is bad, which I mean is perfectly appropriate considering he doesn't actually think that either of those things are bad. So, whatever.
Yeah. Someone in the chat has just written, "Make anti-social media great again." Thanks, mate. Because of
yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Well, be
Go on.
rude and say he was never great. He was never great. He's a cunt. Like, you know what I mean? But that would be rude. So
I wish Michael Rowlands was here. No, you're not gonna.
What?
Okay.
What?
Mind.
No,
What?
I missed that. You cut out.
Oh, I was just applauding you by saying I wish Michael Rowlands was here.
No, he's a cunt as well. Fuck him. All of you.
He's
Yeah.
lost at
Migrant in
sea.
here from.
He's lost
Yeah.
at sea. Someone quick, get Lauren Southern.
Oh, by the way, I think it's worth mentioning the absolutely spectacular catfight meltdown between the alt-right, the blonde bombshell brigade. It's just amazing. There've been rape accusations and extortion accusations.
It's amazing.
Laura Loomer describing Lauren Southern as, quote, "you vile Canadian cunt." It's an amazing description. But yeah, anyway, that's been fun. I have eaten so much popcorn that I'm still as fat as I ever was.
Insert Anita GIF here, you know. Oh God, this is just depressing sentence. Rape, unfortunately, was just the beginning. Next came murder. On March 22nd, 2016, 2 bombs exploded in Brussels airport, killing 13. An hour later, another explosion went off in the town of... You there?
Hello?
Oh, we lost you.
Help me with the pronunciation of a town, just so I don't get it wrong.
It's maybe I don't know. I haven't got a fucking clue.
Thank you. You've been a great help.
Some fucking foreign pile of shite. I don't know. Town of Malbeek. Just call it something normal. Dave.
Do you want to borrow this hat, mate?
Hey?
Do you want to borrow this hat? What you just came out with?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Make Malbeek great again. Definitely.
I'll move on. The attack's mastermind, who also planned the November 2015 Paris attacks, was, here we go, Abdul Hamid Aboud, a Belgian native who had travelled to Syria to fight for the Islamic State.
You pronounce that like some crazy old geriatry there. Aboud.
Make pronunciation great again.
Also, this just before we get on to the continuation of that sentence, what you're about to read puts pay to the lie that it's all an immigrant problem. But anyway, continue.
Very good point. The attack's mastermind, who did the November 2015 Paris attacks, whose name will remain silent for now, is a Belgian native who had travelled to Syria to fight for Islamic State before returning to Europe at some point during the refugee crisis. European states suspected of letting him pass through their borders on his return to Belgium immediately issued flustered denials. But the truth is,
they can't fucking stop him. Because
Exactly.
he's a Belgian native and that's the Schengen zone, they literally can't stop him.
Yeah.
Yes. EU passport.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the truth is, no one was looking that closely at the streams of migrants flooding across the continent's borders. Abu ads.
Are you fucking joking? The news never shuts the fuck up about the stream of fucking migrants. That's all they ever talk about. They've been looked at rather closely. But anyway.
The attackers of said gentlemen, encouraged by the Islamic State, inspired a string of copycat strikes in Europe's summer of terror. 1 month later, it's a link, I suppose. 1 month later, a police officer and his wife were stabbed in Magnanville, France, by, here we go.
That's definitely how it's pronounced. Definitely.
Right. By La Rossi Abala. On the orders of ISIS. It's funny. I'll start doing the accents in a bit, and we're going to go downhill, okay? 1 month after that, on Bastille Day, a Muslim driving a 19-ton truck ploughed through the Promenade des Anglais in Nice, France. 86 people were killed and more than 400 were injured. 2 weeks after Nice, Germany was hit by a stabbing in Wurzburg, and then a week later, a suicide bombing in the town of Ansbach, both at the hands of Islamists. 2 days after Ansbach, 2 Islamic State terrorists stormed a Catholic church in Normandy, slitting the throat of an 86-year-old priest before French anti-terrorism police shot them both and rescued the remaining hostages. 10 days later, in Charleroi, Belgium, a man attacked police officers with a machete while shouting, and I will do the accent, Allahu Akbar! Which translates to...
Hello, Scottish. What the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that?
Also, can we go back to the priest?
Scottish.
Surely, slitting the throat of an 86-year-old priest is just good anti-paedophile work, isn't it?
Here we
That's
go.
what I'm talking about.
He's back again. He's back again with the old nonce jokes.
Quite literally old nuns. Yeah, absolutely.
Blah, 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 blah. 3 more ISIS-motivated stabbings would take place in Europe before year's end. In Rimini, Italy, Starbeck, Belgium, and Cologne, Germany. The United States faced its own terror attack in 2016 in Orlando, Florida. 49 killed, 59 wounded at Pulse. Isn't he a native of America, though? Pulse, a gay nightclub. It was the deadliest terrorist attack on American soil since 9/11. Already, isn't it? Because there's been a couple more. And the deadliest act of home in US history, apart from all the people who hate Milo, obviously. But I gave a speech outside Pulse about the threat posed to women and gays. He wasn't there at all, like Tommy Robinson turning up at the fucking any Muslim event ever, and you know.
Yeah, he was essentially doing an Islamophobic fucking of the corpses of the people who'd literally just been killed there.
The recording has been viewed almost 1 million times on YouTube. I bet that's monetized. Not a single cable broadcast, not a single cable or broadcast channel aired any of it. Oh, I wonder why.
That's because Milo, you're not news, you cunt. You're nothing. You shouldn't. Why is that? It's like saying I scratched my balls earlier today, and not a single fucking cable broadcaster put it on. Who cares?
That's a shame. That's like, yeah, a loss to humanity.
Unlike the contents of my balls, which are definitely not a loss to humanity. Like I said, don't invite me on and expect highbrow. Just don't.
Yeah, no, don't.
You can't say I've not shown you ample, ample evidence that I'm basically human garbage. Don't invite me on.
You're a garbage human.
No, yes.
Let's just pause for a second and remember that it's been about 6 months since Sargon's been on Twitter. I think, isn't it quiet?
Yes, yes.
So very quiet.
The poor man.
It's now even more Nazi than it's ever been in its entire existence. I can't move for bloody Nazis. But isn't it quiet?
Well, not just that, but without him and Kraut, it's a lot more boring. It has to be said.
Yeah,
there is something to that, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Yeah, it used to be screenshot after screenshot of whatever he said that day, and then sort of taking apart what he says. And now we're left with the poor man's version of him, which is Ian Miles Chong, and which is saying something because Sargon is pretty fucking thick as it's to begin with, you know.
Has Ian Miles Chong ever been correct about anything?
That is a statement which I cannot back up with evidence, but we all know it's correct. He's never been right about anything, nothing at all.
I think you were just using the Ian Miles Chong journalism school method there. I'm
more of a journalist than Ian Miles Chong is. Yeah. And I can't even fucking read, as we found out, you know.
Yeah, well, my cat is more of a fucking journalist, and he mainly just sits there licking his arsehole all day. So
that is great investigative work.
What, his cat's arsehole? You probably get more fucking substance from his arsehole than you would from an Ian Miles Chong tweet, to be fair.
Probably.
Smells.
And it comes up with less shit than Ian Miles Chong.
Hey, nice. I'm going to carry on with the book. It's a uniquely American trait to rely on foreigners to take the true stock of American culture.
What does that mean? What the fuck does that even mean? That's odd.
Read that again.
I am okay. It's following. It's maybe because it's following on from not a single cable or broadcast channel aired any of his hate speech outside the Pulse nightclub. It is a uniquely American trait to rely on foreigners to take the true stock of American culture.
Oh right, so he's trying to basically say they should listen to me because I'm a foreigner,
which
is amazing considering he's an anti-immigrant fucking hate preacher. Brilliant.
Indeed. I'm here now with a warning from Europe. Yeah, your face. If America opens its doors, if America opens its doors to Islamic migrants as Europe has, just be the beginning.
For Christ.
Islam. Yeah, Islam is not like other religions. There's not enough paedophile stuff in it for it to be like other religions, in my opinion.
We've been very nonce heavy today, which is, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Hey. Also, on an actually serious note, the thought experiment that I always ask people to do with Islamophobic nonsense like this is replace Islam with Judaism and Muslim with Jew in every sentence that is mentioned, and read it back and think, does this sound a bit Nazi-licious? And if it does, you're reading hateful propaganda, and I would suggest that it is. Look, just reply. Look, instead of Islam is not Judaism is not like any other religion. It's more inherently prescriptive, and it's more political.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why you should still support that. You should still support banning the yarmulke and restricting Jewish immigration. It's Nazi shit, you know.
Yeah,
it is. And just to inject some lightheartedness back into this, going back to something you said earlier, you said it's a bit nonce heavy, this broadcast, which is fair enough. I have named, because I should have mentioned this at the start of the broadcast, this is basically a way of me plugging a podcast that I do that no one listens to, and I haven't even fucking mentioned it once, so that's good going so far. And now on iTunes, and Milo month, aka Cocktober, because that is a fantastic pun, I think we'll all agree. However, the plan was to read out his entire book in the month of October. I've only just started a couple of days ago, like the 19th of October. I don't have enough time to do the whole thing.
Christ, I've discovered one person who's less organised and less good at fucking self-promotion than me. Genius.
Thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yeah, you can put that on a fucking poster. Put that one on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would put on a poster, but that means creating a poster and getting it published, and I probably won't be bothered to do that. So it proves your point again. Yeah. So the thing is, book in this month, I won't have time to do that. I might have to go into next month, which means I need another pun. The only thing I could come up with was Nonce-vember, which doesn't really work. It's a bit But remember, the podcast is available on iTunes and Spreaker.com for all your podcast needs. So anyway, back to the book. Islam is not like other religions. It's more inherently prescriptive, and it's much more political. That's why I, a free speech fundamentalist, still supports banning the burqa and restricting Islamic immigration.
Well, you're not a free speech fundamentalist, then, you cunt. Straight away, you've refuted your own claim, dickhead.
Yeah.
Walter
Also,
Burns.
I still have one. Wait till December. Right? Don't even bother doing it in November. Wait till December and call it Wanksgiving.
Wanksgiving. Perfect.
It is a reflection of my life as well, so it works twice, you know. Now my brain's trying to December. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
November.
There you go. Cocktober, November, December, January.
January. That's awesome. January.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we've got. Where was I? Here we are. Walter Burns' famous essay, Flag Burning and Other Modes of Expression and Actions Are Different. But he also reminds us that the founders were for unlimited speech on religious topics, but not on political principles like advocating for tyranny.
Okay. I mean, that's
everywhere.
That's actually not really true, is it? If you're a free speech fundamentalist.
Are you still there?
Yeah, Kev, you cut out, Kev.
People's approach to them. Hello?
You cut out for a second.
Again.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, if you're supposedly a free speech fundamentalist, why are you against people advocating for tyranny? That's free speech. And a point I would make with Milo and his ilk is, if you're a free speech fundamentalist, surely you're okay with, say, ISIS promoting themselves, because that's just free speech, right?
Yeah. Oh, but no, that's the wrong kind of speech. So you can't have that. That's not free speech.
And by the way, I'm not suggesting that we allow ISIS to promote themselves. I'm just pointing out the inherent nonsense of being a quote-unquote free speech fundamentalist, which is essentially the 6-year-old's equivalent of, you know, of an adult conversation. Oh, free speech it's everything, and then selectively choosing bits and bobs you don't like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, let's carry on. Everywhere Islam exists, you will find political tyranny. Islam is as much a political ideology as a religion, which is why limits on it are perfectly compatible with religious freedom and the First Amendment. Okay,
again, I will just replace one word from that sentence, and let's see if it sounds a bit Nazi. Judaism is as much a political ideology as a religion, which is why limits on it are perfectly compatible with religious freedom and the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah. In electing Donald,
it sounds very much like something you'd read on Twitter. So you know.
And if you replace it with Christianity, right? Then it just doesn't work, and you're gonna get all these free speech absolutists going, no, you can't do that, because in the U.S., right, with Christianity and religion and the state and everything. So yeah, no, it's just bullshit.
In electing Donald Trump, America may have saved itself.
Oh, fuck off. I mean, that doesn't even need to be refuted. Just fuck yourself.
Oh, wow. Naturally, he was attacked as a racist and a bigot throughout the campaign. I wonder why. Both by Merkel-like establishment conservatives and by the American left. And by the right. Yeah. And by people with a brain. And by anyone with eyes and ears. And with anyone with any senses left in their body. And by dead people. Dead people fucking said it as well.
I will just, again, I will replace one word with 2 words and correct the sentence. Naturally, he was accurately described as a racist and a bigot throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
Exactly. Quick question, go off tangent for a second, but is there much influx of Americans coming into Canada scared and wanting somewhere nice to live, like a safe space, Willie?
The only real influx we've had is migrants from oh God, I can't remember where. It's not Syria. It's oh God, where, Joe? Where are the migrants from that are crossing over here? I can't remember. They're from Africa somewhere. I can't remember. Oh my God.
You're saying
Somalia.
saying that you can't tell them apart. Is that what you're saying? You can't tell either one. Is that what you're saying on this broadcast? Is that?
Yeah, Wooly Bumblebee thinks that all black people look alike. It must be terrible because as she's married to a black guy, she must just be walking up to all black people saying, "Oh, hello."
Oh my God, I get him mixed up with all the other people outside all the time. Like, you know, I'm looking for Joe and I'm, you know, just grabbing random people because they all look the same.
Yeah, that's one very, very novel excuse to call fucking another black guy.
Right? Exactly. No, we've had an influx of people fleeing the U.S. from the States because they're afraid of the crackdown on Somali migrants and immigrants, and so they're coming up here, getting away from Trump. I don't blame them.
Yeah. Or on a slightly separate note, and this is very off tangent, I believe marijuana is now legal, and you have cafes and stuff in Canada. Is that true?
We are legalizing it next July. So they're already starting.
Do you have a spare room?
Yes, I have a spare room. Would you like to come?
You don't mind the most stoned man in the world lying on the sofa,
have the whole basement. You can have the whole basement.
Eating all your snacks.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
This is my fucking basement.
Don't like it.
Because the serious reason why I'm asking that is I wanted to go to Denver.
You're giving away my basement.
Go to Denver, for example, which legalized it first and set up all of the cafes and stuff, and go to a football game and then, you know, get stoned and stuff, because I don't do it anymore, right? So it's just like literally as a holiday for me, something to do on holiday. It's quite a nice little idea. But they have guns and shit, and people are very angry and no. I'd rather go somewhere where someone opens a conversation in Canada by apologizing to you because they're so polite. You know, that's where I want to go on holiday, basically.
Yeah, but you will almost certainly get gang fucked by moose. So.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch out. You gotta watch out.
Are you saying that's a bad thing? I don't.
No. I was quoting the tourism board of Canada. So.
Although Millennial Woes doesn't seem to have a problem with it, so
he doesn't. That's a joke from before we started broadcasting, boys and girls. Just so that
exactly. Because before, that's the thing, we've talked a lot about fucking children, but beforehand we were only talking about fucking dogs. So you know.
Correction, you were talking about fucking dogs. No, you were talking about Millennial Woes fucking dogs, which is even worse.
Exactly. I was just making baseless accusations against someone because I politically don't like them.
You're such a Milo, aren't you? You're such a fucking Milo.
I am.
Oh my God.
Is that a homophobic euphemism? I'm such a Milo. Is that what you're suggesting there? What's
I don't know. Right, enough bollocks. Let's get back to the book, which might or might not be bollocks. Anyway, where were we? Blah, 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 blah. America may have saved itself, blah, blah, blah. But such behavior from people who criticize him doesn't really surprise me anymore. The left has been selling out to Islam for years. Why do they have this thing that we like? We have the Quran at home and we sort of worship it as well, you know, without going to the mosque ourselves and all this kind of stuff. It's the most bizarre thing that they try and link it all the time, you know. Yeah. Anyway, it's entitled Islam and the Left. During my college talks, I'm often asked what arguments to use when debating the regressive left. I always have the same answer. Islam. There is nothing else which better exposes the modern left's rank hypocrisy, their disregard for the facts, and their hatred for the West and all it stands for than their attitude to Islam.
Yeah, the hatred for the West and all it stands for. This is just, this is
oh my God.
wank propaganda.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's
Shit.
It's bullshit because, as we said, the only people we hate are Somalians, and that's absolutely fine. Okay. Every can I just say, can no one cut out that piece and use it on Twitter against me? Thanks. The left claims to uphold, from rights for women to gay liberation, even diversity itself, dies on the altar of its sycophantic defense on Islam. There should be a buzzer that goes off when something like that is mentioned. Karl Marx, who?
But the problem is, if there was a buzzer every time he said something like that, it'd be like having fucking tinnitus. It'd be awful.
Yeah, seriously.
Karl Marx called religion the opium of the masses.
It's cultural Marx, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's also a Twitter account called that, I believe. Very funny. If
So
you
you've done a better job of advertising some random fucking Twitter account than you have of your podcast, which was the whole point of this frankly sham of a fucking hangout, which is basically a husk of a thing for you to pimp your wares.
I feel used.
Rowlands was here. Karl Marx, remember him, called religion the opium of the masses. If you look at the left's attitude to Christianity, you might think they believed in this message. The progressive left's comedians and columnists never miss an opportunity to belittle and denigrate conservative Christians, and yet they defend Islam at the expense of every other minority. Bill Maher.
I love the fact that he's mentioned the next four people he mentions here are people who are, let's say, not always entirely objective viewers of Islam.
And he mentions Bill Maher, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and Christopher Hitchens, who have all been frustrated by the following question: why is the left refusing to lift a finger against the most radical, dangerous, socially conservative, and oppressive religion on earth, Miloism? No, he doesn't say that.
Also, why is the left refusing to lift a finger? Milo hasn't lifted a finger. Milo's talked shit on Twitter and done some shitty talks, whereas actual leftists have been the only bulwark against ISIS in the region for years, in the form of the Kurdish PKK and YPG. They're literally the only reason that ISIS doesn't control that region. So fuck you, you cunt.
Yeah. I just want to say, as an aside, I've just taken off the cap and I've got a little short story about this. This is I didn't buy this, you'll be pleased to know. This cap was found in a pub, one of my local pubs. A friend of mine who's mixed race or biracial, you may prefer to say, he found this cap and he thought, oh, this is funny because I'm mixed race, I'll wear this around, quite a bit. And made that he got a rash on his forehead from it, which really sums up Trump's campaign, I thought. And I feel itchy, so I think you might be passing that on to me there. So anyway, back to the book.
What I would do is definitely, if you're going to use that as like a prop, wash it, because there's clearly something wrong with the fucking thing.
It's the mind control chemicals. They're trying to get into your brain.
Is a reference for you, like the Mad Hatter out of Batman. So you put on a hat and you're completely changed for the worse.
Yes.
In this case, let's go a lynching. Anyway, get rid of that. Sam Harris sums up the backwards attitude of the group with his characteristic. I can't read. These people are part of what Majid Nawaz has termed the regressive left. Pseudo-liberals who are so blinded by identity politics that they reliably take the side of a backward mob over one of its victims, rather than protect.
Can I just right, a couple of points? I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what I fucking do. The idea that Milo would ever go at someone else having a backward attitude is ridiculous, and Sam Harris, actually, considering he had the guy who authored the fucking bell curve on his show. Cunt.
Not just that. Did you hear Sam Harris saying that women shouldn't get into elevators with black people, like with black men?
Wow.
Have you heard? You haven't heard that clip? Oh my God. He was on one of his podcasts. He was talking about how some people override their natural inclination to not get into dangerous situations, and he was using the scenario. Yeah.
Well, I quite like the idea that he thinks there's some sort of connection between the elevator and black people get into an elevator and it's like a red flag to a bull or something. They want to go to a higher or lower floor of the building they're in. That's all that's happening there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, and he was saying how a woman would, because of PC culture, override her natural instinct to not get into an elevator with a black person just because she doesn't want to be seen as a racist. So she'll get into the elevator and then she'll like possibly get raped or assaulted or what have you. I'm like,
because well, this is the thing. These fuckers, I've said it for a long time, they are the most disrespectful people toward men. The idea that a man in a lift and a woman gets in, well, obviously he's going to rape her because he's just an animal, obviously.
Especially if he's black, right? Because no white people. Oh my God, it was horrible.
What was I going to say?
Start.
Sorry, yeah. I was just also going to say, blinded by identity politics. Again, this is in a book of a guy who I think every other sentence from him is, "I'm a gay Jew who loves to suck black dick."
And then he mentions leftists and regressives, and there's no identity politics there whatsoever. None.
Yeah.
Going back to something Willie said, this is a tangent again. We don't call them elevators in this country, and there is a company that makes them called Schindler. Schindler's Lifts. It's absolutely true.
That's genius. I don't know if that's true, but it's a good joke.
It is true. You just need to pay attention to what's written on the walls. Like there's going to be a plaque somewhere with the lift company on there, and Schindler is quite. I've seen a load of them in this country, and every time I get in there, I laugh and laugh and laugh. And
so you've been on Schindler's Lift?
I have, yeah. I was wearing a red coat. Just never mind.
Oh, nice reference. Although interestingly, the book wasn't called Schindler's List. Originally, it was called Schindler's Ark. Just as an aside, that's a bit of knowledge I have there. Well done.
That is true.
It's cold.
I didn't know of that originally, guys. guys. These jokes are coming 2 by 2. Anyway, let's move on.
I'm sure the panties of every woman listening is flooded. Hey?
Women listening? Are you mad? This is YouTube.
Okay, the 12% of them that are listening.
I'm like the only one here. All right. So
let's check that. There's 39 people watching now. A great success. I think we can all agree. How many people in the chat are women?
Oh, so now we're just gonna have to sit here and wait and hope that all 39 tell us or something. This is
shush. This is important.
it's really not. It's not. And also, can we hurry up your finish? Because I've got a crop. You saying we just hate Ethiopians or whatever the fuck it was.
Somalians.
There we go.
Well, hang on. If I'm going down, take Willie down as well, because she's the one who started it, and also you perpetuated it by being here. So
yeah. Well, I know I've also got to crap myself saying hideous things and edit myself to make myself seem like I'm promoting pedophilia. So that, I mean, yeah.
There are the poll has finished. There are 2 ladies in the chat, which proves my point. Yay!
Oh, you spoke too soon. There are 2 more, so there's 4.
Yeah, there you go. 4 out of 41 who are bothered to actually write in the chat. Some people just have this on in the background whilst they're crying and contemplating death, I'd imagine.
I was forced to be here, so you know.
What? Hang on, I refuse your heteronormative poll. It wasn't mentioning sexuality, you fool. What are you talking about? Sorry. Anyway, what are we supposed to be talking about? Some fucking wanker? What? I mean, me. I don't know. Anyway.
You.
Oh, Doug Milo. That's there. There we go.
I'll move on slightly because he talks about Charlie Hebdo. He says that's a rare example of a leftist newspaper that understood radical Islam to be akin to the radical religious right. Actually, that's too mild. It's really closer to the radical medieval religious right. That's a claim. I know members of the radical Christian right.
That is a claim. Yeah,
it is. I know members of the Christian right in the United States, and they are scary, but nowhere near as scary.
They're also your fans, you cunt. What are you talking about?
Yeah, seriously.
But nowhere near as scary as Islamic terrorists. They do shoot people. We can get onto that in a minute. Baptist church with machetes, which would be a fun documentary. No, it wouldn't. Charlie Hebdo had the temerity to stand against religious bullies. They published humorous cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, which made them prime targets of Al-Qaeda. Charlie Hebdo's editors correctly understood that allowing people to intimidate artists and writers by threatening violence was the first step on the road to a terrified, censored society. I'll quickly note that people who say they've been demonetized say they're censored. So that's the kind of audience that he's applying that to, people who don't actually understand what censorship is, you know.
Yeah.
On January the 7th, 2015, 12 employees of the newspaper paid for it with their lives when two armed Muslim siblings forced their way into Charlie Hebdo's offices in Paris and opened fire. Charlie Hebdo is a leftist publication, Marxist in fact.
What? Hang on, whoa, time out. How is it Marxist?
Yeah, that's
exactly. There's no explanation here at all. It's just saying it.
Yeah.
Because Charlie, because I'll tell you something. Because being here in Quebec, right? Like we have a lot of radio shows that are very political in French, and they reference like Charlie Hebdo and stuff every once in a while. And those guys are the separatists here. They are the equivalent of what you would call like a white nationalist, right? Yeah. And they praise like Charlie Hebdo and stuff. That's not leftist shit. That's not like progressive whatever. Yeah. That appeals to those types of people, you know. Also, so I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Also, I'm not surprised that Milo's okay with Charlie Hebdo's portrayal of things, because I think that seems at their intellectual level. It's literally just a picture of Muhammad showing his anus and testicles. Like, oh, that's cutting satire there. Hold on.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. They're so not leftist. Like that, they're praised by the racists and the separatists here. So yeah, no.
How do I create a moderator?
You click on the three little dots in the corner of the name
next to the person's name.
Yeah.
Also, I was just going to say, as an aside, whilst you're doing this midstream, again, brilliantly organised.
Thanks.
I quite like. Well, I'm about to say I quite like the Quebec separatists. That's not true. I fucking despise them. But I mean, I quite like an aspect of what they do is that they consider they like. When they said they were going to leave or whatever, and they were trying to separate from Canada, they were like, well, maybe we'll go and join France. And France basically went, no, we're not actually French.
I know.
Off. It's like that pathetic kid that's like, oh, I'm going to go be friends with this other person. The other person's like, nah, you're a dick. Go away. You know.
Yeah, no, France.
Sure.
France looks at Quebec and Quebecers, like French Quebecers, and they're like, the fuck is that shit? Like you're not French, you're whatever the hell that is. They thumb their nose at French Quebecers. So yeah, no.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean that's the thing. The fact that the French don't like them means that I think as an Englishman I'm duty bound to like them. Is that how that works? I think I don't know.
I don't know how that works.
So,
right.
Radio silence there for a second, because our host.
I was distracted.
He's probably touching himself. I imagine. I don't know what's going on
here. You can't see from my boobies down, so you might be right.
Yeah, but your boobies go all the way down. Woohoo!
Ooh, yeah.
I quite like. Also, right, I like the fact. I mean, I presume this is like your spare room you film your stuff in, and you've got all those posters and shit on your wall. I quite like the other. I mean, how do you explain that nonsense to people who come into your house?
I have a image of, let's try and get it on the screen, an image of Anita Sarkeesian with "Kill All Men," and she's got a swastika on her head to, say feminazi, and she's got big fangs, and it's next to a picture of Mr. Benjamin with his eye taken out, which is a reference to an old video. And this lovely joke here, which is an Only Fools and Horses reference, which no one has got in my entire time it's been on my fucking wall.
War Corpse.
It's a War Corpse thing which is related to a comedy program in Britain that only British people have seen, and that's Bouncer from Neighbours, which is referenced a video made about some penis. And basically people have come in here, and by people I mean very, very, very rarely like women and stuff, and I say to them in advance I say to them, there's some weird stuff on the wall which really, if you could, try and ignore. And to their credit, they look at it, look at me and think, let's just get this over with. And yeah, no, it's people haven't really picked me up on it when they've come in, because I know most people know I make stupid videos, and it's just reference to those. I used to have a Star of David on my wall, which I used from a very early video, which had a few people's faces on, but you couldn't quite see it, so it looked like I was
face was on there.
Yeah, that was a really good joke at the end of a video, and I really like that. I put it up here, and I realized it's a bit of it's got the funny swastika thing here, which is obviously clearly a joke, and then you've got a Star of David here. It doesn't really go together, so I got rid of that. And I was thinking that I've got to move house soon, right? And I'm thinking, look, in a new place. So what I'm going to do, and this is, I'm a very lazy person, as we all know, but what I'm going to do is try and buy the biggest picture of George Soros I've ever seen in my life. Stick it on the wall, put tinsel around it, maybe a few love hearts on there, like cut that out and put that on there, and kiss it at the start and end of every broadcast. Maybe a bit elaborate, that, but it's an idea I had,
I think that would be awesome.
True, but now you've said that, there might be some other people out there, me, that's going to steal that. So
Well, I have video proof that I was the person to come up with that, and I will take you down in a blaze of fire, and I will make Mike Rowlands my new best friend, and I will cry myself to sleep every night, and you will not hear the end of it, I can tell you.
Kevin, don't make him cry. Kevin,
well, such a lovely time as well. Should we carry on, or should we just go and talk about something else? I mean, we get the idea from Milo.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've been Milo's.
We've been here for an hour, basically, an hour and 10 minutes.
Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote on which was worse, War Corpse's book or this one?
Well, at least this one, good question.
But at least this one has fucking sentences that make sense and are punctuated correctly.
Yeah, but he didn't write it himself, so.
Well, probably, but I mean, and okay, kudos to whichever unpaid intern can actually, write in English.
God damn it, Kevin! At least War Corpse did the work himself.
Well, true, but I mean, as I described, it's essentially, it looks like he's filled his anus with ink and farted onto the page. I mean, it's nonsense.
There is that.
I've got one video that is not demonetized on YouTube, and it is the video that I made when I found War Corpse's book. I made the video when I dressed up as him and read it out in his style, and the thumbnail is a picture of Emma Watson, because he briefly mentions her, looking terrified in the foreground, and a massive picture of him sort of looking at her like this in the background. And it's the most disturbing thing I've ever made in my life. But there's no reference to anything bad in the title. There's no reference to anything bad in the tags of the video or even in the description. So the worst looking video I have on my channel was not demonetized on the basis of, I think, that it was not referenced in any, there was no word references to anything that was happening in the now. Do you follow?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, how fucked up is that? It's the most disturbing image, and I will put it on Twitter a bit later on for people to see as well, just to prove that point.
We mentioned this before, and that's the reference we made earlier to Bon and Doug. Was that I drew the comparison about the YouTube monetization thing, a video of mine, which is literally just a 40-second clip of my cat playing with some string, that got demonetized. Whereas the video entitled "Does Millennial Woes Want to Bum" is monetized. That's fine.
I know, it's amazing.
Because I mean, that's me making a joking allusion to him committing crimes, and that's monetized apparently.
That was a rough day for Millennial Woes, anyway, I think. So, let's talk about to start off with. I'm interested in talking about the Mouthy Buddha thing because I didn't really know anything about him until really I think I watched one or a section of his video called "The Problem with the Alt-Right" or something along those lines a couple of months ago. That's how he came into my periphery, you know. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I do remember that because it was a very slickly well-made video, and I compare him. He's sort of like the very let's say right-wing version of H Bomber Guy, because his videos are very well made, but obviously the message is completely different.
Yeah.
But then recently he came back into the fold because he's making these videos about the Jewish question, which
propaganda.
Again,
yeah,
indeed, we'll get to that in a sec. Because
Kevin, where's Kevin? Kevin.
Let me just. His picture. His picture.
He does
still
this
there
every once in a while. Well, I don't see him. He's not there.
No, he's not there anymore, is he?
No, he'll come back. It's his connection.
I'm sure he will. But it's fine because you've had an interaction with Mouthy Buddha very, very recently anyway. So we'll get to that in a second. So my thoughts are that don't immerse myself in the world that we all inhabit too much, because I find it so very depressing, people saying the same thing over again. You get the idea, but then when it gets to the more Nazi sort of area, I just cannot really to immerse myself, because I just think it's just going to be the most miserable time, and you just despair about people, and it's just there's no need at all. But called "Is Hitler Bad?" or something along those lines, and it was a second in a trilogy. A trilogy which, by the way, hasn't been finished, and I have a feeling it may never be finished in this instance, but we never know. And he took the position of, here's what people say about a subject, and I'm going to give you their opinions in full. But what it by pretty much everybody apart from his supporters is complete and utter. Because there was he didn't refute any of the points he made, really. No. There was a little image in here and there, but when he says stuff like people's opinions of Hitler are childish, you know, he essentially didn't do nothing, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I haven't got the script of the video here to hand, but if you haven't seen it, stop the hangout now, come back.
His exact quote was, and thank you for welcoming me back after I dropped out.
I didn't realise you were back, mate. I'm so poor at this. I'm so poor at this that I had no idea that you had gone. I had no idea you were back. I didn't even have time to mourn your passing.
Well, I just had to quickly go and wank off George Soros, so I'm back. What was I gonna, yeah,
that's my joke.
It's exactly. Yeah. It's your joke, but it's my fucking day job. So that's, you know. His exact quote was, Hitler was a decent person.
Yeah.
And
no, I'm sorry.
He kind of followed up by.
Well, not just that. He also has a part where he says that Hitler, and this is not quote for like, you know, I'm just summarizing it, but that Hitler was decent and nice to the Jews, basically.
Well, he said during the quote Holocaust, so he wasn't even saying during the quote Holocaust. The Germans were, what's the exact word he used? Because that's so annoying. I can get it for
you. It's right here. Hold on.
Yeah,
let me
get that up.
Hold on. Do you want me to pull this up? Hold on. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, come on, because it's actually a really interesting quote which perfectly sums up why it's neo-Nazi propaganda.
Let me see if I can. Why am I logged out of my account? There we go. Here we go. I'll see if I can pull this up. Let's see.
Well, presumably you're logged out of the account because of the Jews or something. So.
What's that, Kev?
You're probably logged out of your account because of the Jews. So.
Yeah, that's it.
Account has parentheses over the.
Yeah, exactly. Echo marks around account.
Echo marks. That's what I meant.
Well, no.
I have
yeah, go on.
I have the video here if you guys want to hear it. I don't know if you can hear it though. So hold on.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
what video are we?
I made a 2.5 minute video where I have the
which was
quotes,
flagged, by the way, wasn't it? So
which was flagged, yeah.
free speech,
I don't. Yeah, so I don't know if you'd want to play it on here because it could technically get you flagged.
No, but that's the thing. It's bogus, and if it gets flagged, go to the trusted flagger guy, and he will get it removed for you.
Yeah, I actually did.
See, like if the videos from which the clips are used are taken, those videos are still up. So how the fuck is your video flag worthy? I mean, that's ridiculous. It obviously fits within you know, the confines of the terms of service. So
here it is. He says, throughout the quote Holocaust, Nazis showed restraint to the Jewish people. That's quote for quote.
Yeah, restraint to the Jewish people. Now, I'm sorry, but if killing 6 million of them is restraint, I mean that's a very, very interesting interpretation of the meaning of those words. By which I mean is a neo-Nazi cunt. So I mean,
he also nihilist by the looks of it, because he gave incorrect numbers and doesn't correct. If it's an opinion of someone else, he doesn't correct his words after the event, does he? So it does come across as Holocaust.
Well, he said that the 6 million Jews doesn't add up. That's what he literally said.
Mm.
Well, how can they add up? Dead people can't do mathematics.
Yeah. So he's
a bizarre video in the fact that when you watch it for the first time, start is lost because it's just an onslaught of scary music with look at the Jews, 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 Jews, and then statistics that aren't correct, and then Nazi propaganda, stuff that seems to be Nazi propaganda. I'm not saying that it's explicitly that, even though Kevin has just said it himself. And
that's because it is. It's so obviously the idea that.
And at the end, after digesting all of that, you can only come to one conclusion, which is what Kevin has just said. Despite the disclaimer, despite the fact he's been saying on Twitter and in a podcast I listened to recently that he not propaganda. However, this is going out a bit of a tangent again. He said that he is essentially has the same feelings as people. I don't know if you've heard the audio that he released, 45-minute audio. It's largely just rambling nonsense, but there's about 2 or 3 minutes of stuff in there where he's really guilty about the video, really guilty about it being out there, really worried of its effect on people and how people view him now, and the fact that he has, quote, alt-right tendencies, and he's worried about that, and he wants to leave that kind of group and all this kind of stuff. And if that is the case, which is Nazi propaganda, if you're worried about it, why is it still up? Why is it still there? It doesn't make any sense. This is the most slickly produced Nazi propaganda I've seen on YouTube for quite a while. And like I say, I don't immerse myself in that world all the time, but I am aware enough. People will send me links and stuff that I will see that is the best produced Nazi propaganda I've ever seen. And when on the other hand, you've got people who pander to the alt-right, to the far right, people like Sargon and stuff. They're very boring people. They don't have anything really to say. They just to people, whereas this is a great tool. And I immediately went on the Daily Stormer and Stormfront, whatever's still up, and I tried to search for it, but the forums wouldn't allow me to. And I'm thinking that maybe if they've got any sense on these websites, they'll be sharing this video and they'll be promoting this video till the cows come home, as long as it's online. And
yeah,
right, you see my point?
Well, no, I just want to say this. I don't know if you're aware, but he was in a live stream a little while ago, and he admitted that he dog whistles in all of his videos. So, you know, I mean,
well, I would say this video goes beyond. I think it goes beyond. That's pretty fucking explicit. If you're going to give out as anti-social media, I nearly called you by your name. Anti-social media said there if you're going to give out false numbers, and it's not just that they're slightly wrong, they're incorrect, they're made up bullshit numbers, and then not correct them. I'm sorry, that's you giving an opinion at that point.
Yeah. Well, but I like the way he did the video. It's very smart, right? He's like, well, this is what anti-Semitic or you know, the JQ people say, right? And so he's trying to say that it's not his words, that it's other people's words, but then he changes within a couple of sentences. So, you know, he has that plausible deniability where he can be like, well, I didn't say this, not my opinion. I was just saying that that's what they believe. But you can, if you're paying attention, you can see the transition to what he believes and what he, you know, is saying versus what he's trying to say they're saying. And he's tricky. He's tricky.
Yeah, the thing about him, what about this and how he wants to leave the alt-right and he's ashamed of it and blah, blah, blah. Look, A, yeah, look, as anti-social media says, why is the video still up? B, why are you retweeting articles defending you from people who are alt-right, openly and avowedly alt-right? And why are you, you know, associating yourself with people who are now currently under investigation for attempted murder? And not just attempted murder, but obviously politically, racially motivated attempted murder. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get on to the...
I don't believe him. No, I was just gonna say I don't believe him for a second that he's trying to leave the movement. That's bullshit. I don't buy it for a second.
And also, this idea that it's the left that are driving people out of our way. Sorry, what happened to personal responsibility? If you're a Nazi, that's on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard this excuse, right? You know, I want to leave, but the left hates me, so I'm stuck here. It's like, no, you're not, you big baby. Like, really, you're stuck there. That's the excuse you're gonna go with. That the left, that the S-Jews, that the whoever made you a Nazi. I love this stupidity. You know, it's like, really.
Yeah. It's. How do you what's your opinions, both of you, on, because he's had a video which I haven't seen where it's entitled something along the lines of myself and my fashy friend, Nazi friend, review a film or a YouTube video or look at something together, and there's a still of him sat next to a guy, and it's the guy who either shot at protesters at the Richard Spencer event in Florida. One of the guys who's with that shooter, right? Who is a self-confessed white supremacist, whatever you want to call them. It's all pretty much the same thing. You made a video about that, Wooly, and you've been talking to him online as well, Mouthy Buddha. What do you want to say about that situation?
Okay, first of all, it was the guy that shot at the protesters was not that guy. He is friends with the two brothers that didn't have the gun, but that were yelling, "Kill them, kill them," which is so much better. You know, that's just so much better. But
that's just free speech. Why do you hate people expressing themselves, even if it is literally murder these other people? I mean, come on.
I'm just a censorious S-Jew, you know, that's who I am. He was, you know, he's the one who put this out there. He put out on social media that he knew these two brothers and that they were best friends of his, and that he was, and then he gets mad at someone like me, right? Who is questioning him and his association with these people who he willfully associated himself with, and I'm like, stop trying to blame other people. You chose these people, these disgusting people, as your friend, and now you're upset about it. Like, I'm sorry, but maybe choose better friends, choose a different hobby, and you know, don't be an anti-Semitic piece of crap. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's this, like Kevin was saying, it's this personal responsibility. They don't want it, but they want to put it on everyone else, and that's the problem I have with all this. Yeah, Mouthy Buddha didn't know who I was when I was first talking to him, which was hilarious. He didn't know who I was, and then he found out that I had made that video, and he's like, "You're so dishonest. You're what was it? Like I was tricking him into something." And I'm like, "What? Do I have to announce that I think you're a piece of shit before I start talking to you on social media? I'm sorry. Well, I think you're a piece of shit. So what do you want?"
There's two ways of looking at this, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, and I may be, but if I'm not mistaken, he was surprised by his friend's involvement in this incident.
Yeah.
He said it out loud. I mean, whether he's to be believed or not is a different story. So, no place right now, and
well, this is the thing. Obviously, you can't unless obviously you know that your friend has like murderous intent, in which case you probably ought to contact authorities, both legal and medical, because that person needs some help. But assuming that isn't the case, assuming that this was just your common or garden fascist who wasn't necessarily going to be immediately murderous, you can't necessarily hold him responsible for the fact that some people he knows killed someone or tried to kill, shot.
Oh no, I'm not saying.
No,
I'm
that
not
was
saying
going to be my
should.
point. Yeah.
But the point is, beyond that, is that if you associate yourself consistently with these kind of hateful people, and they then do something, and you don't try and distance yourself from them, again, that speaks, I think, rather well to the quality of your character, let's say.
Exactly, and that's basically what I was saying, right? I wasn't saying that he was responsible for anything that these guys did. That's not on him. What I'm saying is, you're hanging around with people like this, and that just speaks volumes as to who you are and who you are willing to be friends with. And then you're going to tell me that you're not a fascist, that you're not a neo-Nazi, that you don't believe in this shit. I mean, that doesn't, I'm sorry, it just doesn't add up.
Exactly. If you're that comfortable with that kind of person, to think that you don't have sympathies at least very closely linked to that or in that direction is stretching credulity beyond breaking point.
Well, because in the video that he did with the guy that has now been accused of attempted murder, or you know, being along with this guy that shot at the protesters, in that video, in the beginning, he's making light of the fact that his friend's a fascist, right? He's like, I'm with my fasci friend. He's a neo-Nazi, literally, you know. But he's doing it with like that tone of voice that, you know, if you didn't know that the guy was actually, you know, a fash or a neo-Nazi, you'd be like, oh, he's just trolling. He's just joking around, right? So he makes light of this, even though he knows that that's what this dude is about. And
if you have friends that are fucking neo-Nazis, I'm sorry, you're a cunt. Just game over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's no. I mean, I'm okay with political differences. If you have friends that are conservatives, or even people who are reasonably out there, I'm not that bothered. But if you're friends with neo-Nazis, you are scum. I'm sorry.
I had this argument with a couple of people actually on Twitter the other day after this whole thing with Mouthy Buddha, and I couldn't believe it. Like, people were like, oh, but you don't disown your friends because of a difference of opinion. You try to reform them. You try to help them. No.
I'm sorry. Gassing the Jews is not a difference of opinion. Like, whether you like pineapple on pizza is a difference of opinion. Wholesale slaughter of genetic, differences or whatever that's not a difference of opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's my thing. Like, I'm trying to explain, and why am I trying to explain this to these people? Shouldn't it be obvious that, you know, if you have a friend who comes out and says, yeah, I think, you know, death to all Jews is good, and Hitler was a good person, and blah 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 blah, like all these talking points, why would you then be like, yeah, you're still my friend, even though
because he isn't just okay with that other person holding those views, but clearly he said himself Hitler was a decent person, so clearly he shares at least some of those views.
Yeah, well, that is exactly what I was saying, right? And he's like, oh, you're slandering me, no, dude, this is you did this to yourself, you know, and if you don't like it, maybe you should have picked better friends and you know, done something different. And now you just have to deal with the fact that, you know, you willingly associated yourself with these pieces of shit.
Yeah. Guilt by association is when you wrongly associate someone with someone else or something else. When you associate yourself with that thing, that's just an accurate description of what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, he did himself up like a kipper, to use a British expression. He posted a tweet, my mate's done this, and then he deleted it. And it's like,
yeah,
there much, mate. I mean, people probably would have put 2 and 2 together eventually when his mugshot comes out, and they probably remember that guy from an earlier Mouthy Buddha video. But he's given them several weeks of pondering who it might be. He put a tweet up and then deleted it, and then defend it too well.
It's very bizarre that you would then complain about people saying, hey, you're associated with these people and they're pieces of shit, you know. Well, I swear to God, the stupidity of it all is just amazing. Yeah, but he claims that he cannot be an ethno-nationalist or in support of all this stuff because he's part Mexican.
Yeah, because as we know, Mexicans are literally incapable of anti-Semitism. It's not possible.
Well, he also, and I think Jeff Holiday argued this point too, that he couldn't possibly be a fascist because in part 1, I think, of his series, like he's got part 0 and then part 1 and part 2. And in part 1, the beginning credits come out as to who helped with the series, and it's Edgy Sphinx, who now goes by Braving Ruin, someone else, and the third person, I don't remember their name, but underneath he had to specify that they were Jewish, like as if to say, oh, I had a Jewish friend help me, so this can't possibly be anti-Jewish propaganda.
It just plays into the stereotype that Jews are really good writers, that even anti-Semitic propaganda, there's a Jew writing it, you know. they're talented people.
And Jeff Holiday used that as sort of the talking point, that he was trying to prove that he wasn't a fascist or a neo-Nazi. He's like, well, he had a Jew on there, and he
exactly.
So that kept...
And it's the hypocrisy of it. They don't like identity politics, but oh, we can't be racist because Jew.
Yeah, like, and I'm sitting there going, like, Mike Enoch, anyone? And for people who don't know who Mike Enoch is, I'll just fill them in really quickly. Mike Enoch runs a website called The Right Stuff, and he does a podcast called The Daily Show, exactly. And Mike Enoch, his wife is Jewish. And she did a lovely rendition of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I think it was like 2 years ago. She did it on the podcast, and she wrote it herself, where the Jews were all stuffed in ovens, and they were, you know, nice and warm and toasty for the morning when the goys showed up. And I mean, yeah.
And she's
you know, and she's Jewish.
And of course, in Britain recently, I tweeted a link out. The Channel 4 did a fantastic interview with a guy who was one of the sort of leaders of the British neo-Nazi movement, who left that movement upon coming to terms with the fact that he is both Jewish and homosexual.
Oh yeah. I saw that. Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, the idea that you can't have essentially I mean, there's no other way of describing it. Self-hating Jewish people who are also neo-Nazis is ridiculous.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's this idea out there that only white people are capable of being racist or anti-Semitic or what have you, but no, it crosses all races, all colors, all whatever you want to call it, right? Anyone, it doesn't matter who they are, can believe in this bullshit. I mean, look, we see it all the time, right? These, you know, for a lack of a better word, self-hating, you know, black people or self-hating Jews or whatever that propagate this shit, even though they're hated by most of the people that they're propping up.
You know, you've got a couple of Jews helping him out on that video, so obviously, as we've mentioned, it cannot be anti-Semitic. No. That's the rule. That's the rule. But also, they had Braving Ruin, aka Edgy Sphinx, who has a reputation of being a Nazi, which means it cannot be a Nazi. Oh wait. Yeah. Exactly. Again,
it's ridiculous.
Ditch yourself
also,
up there, mate.
Exactly. If it can't be racist because it can't be anti-Semitic because Jews wrote it, then why do I get accused of being anti-white?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm white. I mean, I assume you knew that much. I don't. I mean, it's very difficult for me to hide that. I'm so white. I'm almost translucent. It's ridiculous.
Nice.
If I'm white and I write all my own material, then how can I possibly be anti-white by their logic?
It doesn't add up. It doesn't. No, it's not possible.
Stop playing identity politics. You're always doing it. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm just going to go and suck up a black guy because I'm not racist, so that's fine. And I do hope that my parents don't listen to this.
Again, that could be easily taken out of context. I mean, I'm not going to do it. Take that out of context if you take the other thing out of context, okay? Let's not have an out of context war on Twitter, whatever you do, all right?
Well, all I'm going to say is that black man is definitely going to be Ethiopian, and then we go full circle.
Indeed. Moving on. Fairly well. I don't know what his next move will be. That would be quite interesting. It's does he dig himself further, or does he actually do the respectable thing and possibly apologize, possibly distance himself from those people, or will he continue to be a bit of a bell end, and will he continue to be supported by other nefarious people who have fairly big followings online as well? I think it's probably the second one, but you never know.
Yep.
I suspect so.
Yes, sadly. So we've talked about neo-Nazi propaganda. So what should we do to cheer ourselves up? Let's talk about some more neo-Nazi propaganda in the guise of Richard B. Spencer, I think it is.
Oh God!
Who very often, and as I think it was before the chat started, it was pointed out by Kev that it was punched. But in my mind, it feels like a couple of years ago now, because we've seen it so many times. It seems like ancient history, but it was still this year. It wasn't even 12 months ago, which I'll be honest with you. But he did we'll call it a speech in Florida, University of Florida, I believe, and it didn't go that well for him from the start. He had a small amount of supporters in the room with him who may have heckled back, but really all you could hear was people, fuck off, Spencer, fuck off, Spencer, for about 5 minutes, and I don't think he got many words out. What's annoyed me about that footage is the microphone was so fucking loud, I could hear everything he was saying. So there might be some people who actually lap up the shit he says, who could perfectly hear him and may sadly have taken some of his stuff on board because you could hear him perfectly. But what you can't deny, if you're a supporter of his, was the amount of people who came out to protest against him, and they were definitely loud throughout, and they did everybody proud, and it was quite.
Yeah. Also, I quite like the fact that, I mean, it wasn't just them chanting "fuck off, Spencer." The Q&A session was just 2 words: "fuck off," which is nice. That's a good way to open a Q&A.
Yeah.
He even sort of came off stage a few times and came back because I guess he needed to take a break from the onslaught, and of course beyond that, after we finished talking about that, we've got the outside with the guy who's shooting. We've covered it a little bit. I'd haven't had enough of Nazis, if I'm honest with you. The whole Buddha thing and just general people with fucking swastikas in their Twitter avatars was like, that's enough for me. So I only looked at bits. I watched the whole video of Spencer, but it was after I come back from the pub. So it was like, I remember bits and bobs of it. So you two probably more versed in it and you know, have more to say about it. So I'll just hand it over to you. Any thoughts on the actual speech itself?
Oh, the speech was like, oh shit. I mean, it was just the same old. Because that's the whenever Milo speaks, they make out as if they've got something really important to say, and they haven't. It's the same shit you've heard a million times from these people, and it was just him shouting over it. But one point I did want to make about a tangential thing was that the media aren't helping by not calling things what they are. And there was a guy outside wearing a swastika shirt, which people may have seen. He got punched, and he also got hugged by a black guy who said, "Why do you hate me, dog?" Which is funny. But I saw several media reports saying man wearing swastika shirt gets punched. I feel like there's a term that they could use to describe someone who wears a swastika shirt that would be more helpful to describing what that person is and why they might have been punched.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the media is so afraid to use these terms. It really is. When the guy there,
but surely there's no chance of it being liable on the basis that.
No.
Well,
no.
He's wearing a swastika shirt.
You say that, but for people like Spencer, people with maybe a bit of money behind them, and this is where we go back to Milo. There was that BuzzFeed report from a couple of weeks ago which linked him again to white nationalism and so forth, and how he was trying to move away from it slightly so it didn't seem so overt, and how he could just sort of dog whistle to people and sort of do it subtly. So whenever anybody ever brought up the N-word as a Nazi, people alongside him, the threaten any company and say, right, what you got to do, you got to prove that he's actually said things that are Nazi. And what they do is they speak so carefully about it that they don't actually anything to really. So therefore, they've got to maybe have to pay them money. So it's all a case of choosing your words carefully if you're in the media. But at the same time, I'm with Kevin. These people are fucking pussies. You need to fucking come out and say what people are. If they've got swastikas on their fucking clothes, then you know there's only one thing they can be. You know.
Well, yeah.
Unless of course they're doing it ironically. I'm sure he may claim that. You know.
Yeah.
Let's just finish off. It was proven perfectly because Baked Alaska, who his real name is, that was in the article, it's not a dox. He was actually Milo's tour manager / some kind of assistant manager, and he was terrible at his job. So the BuzzFeed article was really funny reading about him. At one point, they placed him in a hotel miles away from Milo, who was appearing at some event, just to teach Baked Alaska a lesson of respect, because he just kept fucking about. He wasn't paying other employees on time. He wasn't taking things seriously, and he was burden to Milo. Eventually, I think they got rid of him, and lo and behold, he ended up marching with Chris Cantrell, I think his name is, and other Nazis at Charlottesville, where, of course, we all know what happened there. And it's like, distance yourself from Nazis, and what you've done is you've employed an actual Nazi. So if people knew about that in the past, that would have been very damaging. But of course, you know, his career is already over. But you see my point. It would have been doubly damaging, and would be able to report it as it actually is, how everybody else in the whole world sees these events. Maybe a bit of a ramble there, but you get my point, right?
Yeah. No, I think that on the one hand, you're right. If they're using the propaganda, the dog whistles or whatever, then there is that plausible deniability, right? Like, I didn't say this or blah, blah, blah. But if you're wearing a swastika t-shirt, or you've got swastika tattoos or 1488 or whatever the hell on you, calling you a neo-Nazi is not slander. That's like, that's what you're dressed as, you know? And so I think the media needs to revise its policies or whatever on this. I mean, I get it when it comes to someone like Spencer dressed in a suit, right? And he can plausibly, because that's what he does. That's what these guys do, right? They've couched all this stuff in buzzwords and things that only speaks to that kind of crowd, right? So there is that plausible deniability, and I get that. And the media doesn't want to get sued for like slander or libel or whatever. But when someone's wearing a swastika, call them a Nazi. I don't know why that's so hard.
Yeah. True. Can't argue with that. The event itself was a bit of a washout for old Spence, lol, etc. Can anyone give me any more details than the very small amount that we've talked about already about what happened outside? Because so a black guy was hugging a protester, is that right? And then someone got punched. There's a lovely.
No, it's the same. That's the same guy. He was. I don't know how he got cornered on his own, but he was a guy wearing.
But the guy punching him is white. He's got a white fist. That's
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. But it's the same. Same part of the event essentially. The guy's walking through a crowd of protesters. I don't know how he's gotten himself into that situation. That's very strange. One of whom punches him after a black guy had hugged him, and literally he was hugging him, and he said, "Why do you hate me, dog?"
Yeah,
which is kind of sweet. And then that's quite nice. But then I also did enjoy the white guy punching him as well. So I mean, I'm conflicted.
So are the far right as well, because they'll be looking at it thinking, oh, why do you always want to punch Nazis? But someone's given him a hug, and then just to appease us, someone's also punched him. So it's like, you know,
and it's confusing
for
them
both worlds, guys.
That doesn't make any sense to them, because a black guy hugged him and a white guy punched him. So I mean that's what's going on with the racial demographic. What about white pride people? What's going on there? That's outrageous.
Oh my
God. White people doing white genocide. Oh.
On another note of interest, I don't know if you guys know this, but in Charlottesville, did you hear about the black guy that got beaten up in the car park?
Yeah, he got charged.
Yes, he was chased around by people with fucking 2x4s, and they were kicking the 7 bales of shit out of him.
Yeah, and now there's been a warrant issued for his arrest.
What are the details of that?
Yeah, they've issued a warrant for his arrest for assault. Even though it wasn't assault, he was trying to defend himself. He was, I mean, these guys were out to kill him. And
well, that's presumably he will, even if he gets charged with that, which seems really odd that they would even bother. But there's video footage of him being attacked. So presumably even a really, really shit lawyer would be able to argue a case of self-defense. Sure.
Yeah. But the fact that they even issued a warrant for this guy's arrest after being smashed in the head, like, I mean, the pictures were horrific. There was blood everywhere. And they've issued a warrant for this poor guy's arrest. Like, what the fuck? So you're not allowed to defend yourself when someone's trying to kill you? Oh, wait, because you're black, right?
Everyone's allowed to defend himself. But
yeah, his name was Trey Harris.
Yeah, it's the far right argument, essentially. Oh, he started it. Is that what they're trying to get across there?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But
well, the white supremacist assholes are saying, well, he started it because he was yelling at us. Oh, okay. So he was yelling at you. You guys, you guys tried to kill him. He was yelling at you. You guys tried to kill him, so he tried to defend himself, and somehow this is all his fault. I don't know anymore. I just don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's it's got all serious now, isn't it? There's not been amazing amount of laughs over the last couple of minutes or so. Sorry about that, guys.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Quickly, bust out another nonce joke. Let's do it. Come on.
I'll do a regular joke if you want.
Go on then.
Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne, and Kent. They've all got dead parents, but not one of them has ever thought about appearing on X Factor. What a waste of talent.
Fucking hell. That is brutal. Well, I like the joke you
every time
at the end of your stream earlier today. That made me laugh.
Do it again, or is that really flogging a dead horse?
Well, my entire channel is flogging dead horses, so go for it.
I don't think it translates across the globe, though. That's a problem.
Basically, there's. All right, I'll
no. If you've got to explain it, then it loses its funny. It's only funny because it's a pun.
No, the pun isn't the funny bit of it. The pun, the bit afterwards when you explain actually it's nothing to do with the size. It's the fact that mostly poor people have been. That's the funny element of it. And now the joke that's really cryptic now. People are just it's weird.
But speaking of having to explain jokes, which means they're not funny anymore, Kekistan. There's one.
No.
Like I was watching Jeff Holiday's. Oh my god.
Bastard.
Well, no, because I was watching Jeff Holiday's video on what is Kekistan, and he's gone to great lengths to explain what Kekistan is and why it's funny. And I'm sitting there watching this going, if you have to explain it, it's not funny. It's not ironic Nazi humor. It's not. You're an idiot, and the joke is on you.
Yeah, it's not only is it a lame, stale piece of shite, but if your ironic Nazism is indistinguishable from Nazism, stop.
Yes, and he's like, the joke is on the Nazis who picked up the Kekistan flag and I'm like, no, the joke is on you. The joke is on you, idiots. You're so stupid. You don't get it. Oh my god. Yeah, us normies, we're the ones who are being played. No.
It's telling, really, that there aren't really any right-wing or indeed far-right comedy shows or comedians. I mean, there's one or two, obviously, but compared to on the left, and it's even in this live stream today, it's a small with. Let's put it bluntly, we haven't got massive amounts of fans behind us. Well, Kev, you might have a few more than the rest, but it's not like tens of thousands or anything. And what we can do is basically have a laugh from start to finish, whereas a right-wing hangout is essentially snowflakes whilst complaining about everything, and generally having a chat which is entirely filled with misogynist, racist, swastikas and whatnot. And it's strange how they don't have a sense of humor, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got Steven Crowder who dresses up in drag and thinks he's a comedian.
No, he's not a comedian. He's not a comedian, but he is a fucking joke.
Oh yes, he is. He really is.
Yeah.
He's been getting millions of. That he did a take. I didn't watch it, but he did a take on Jimmy Kimmel, who, for people who don't know, is a US talk show host, one of the midnight guys like Stephen Colbert and people like that, Trevor Noah, etc. And he full take on the Las Vegas shootings, and he broke down crying. It was really hard to watch. I was blubbing when I was watching it and everything, and it was very moving. And of course, conservative, you've got to have the gun laws are they should be relaxed, etc., rather than the opposite. Steven Crowder made a video. I haven't seen it, but that's generally what I think it's about, and it's got several million views.
Great.
His average videos are pretty much close to 1 million. I think his channel is actually growing.
Oh God, I wouldn't be surprised.
Now I'm just thinking. You mentioned about far right, like stand up and stuff. Of just like doing a character that comes on stage. Like, what's it with all the Jews today? You know, just starts doing really silly shit.
Oh god.
Have you seen these newfangled black folk? What's going on there?
Newfangled black folk.
Two Jewish guys walk into a bar. No, two Muslims walk into a bar. What are they doing there?
No,
Exactly. They're not supposed to drink alcohol. What's, you know?
Oh god. But have you guys heard Sargon's series on All Cultures Are Beautiful? Have
No.
you
Yes, where he basically attacks anyone who isn't white. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm waiting for him to do his a series on how white culture is beautiful. And,
Well, the thing is, he could do one, right, which would still fit into his paradigm by just doing, like, oh, look, Chanty Binks, she's a white person.
Yeah.
She's shit or something. He could do that and have plausible deniability. So I don't know why he hasn't, because at the moment it is just really, really racist propaganda.
Oh my god, it's for those people who haven't seen it, it's a series where he looks at different cultures that aren't white. He did one on India, and he did one on the Congo, and what he does is he takes the worst people in that culture, in that area, and uses them as a representation for everyone within that culture or area.
Did he mention?
It's
Did he
the
mention
most-
the manufacturer of Umbongo? Because that's the only thing I know about that place. That's a British reference that no one got. Even the British guy in the room didn't get that fucking reference. Jesus Christ!
They drink it in the Congo.
There you go. That's the joke I was doing. Fuck's sake.
Sorry, I was, yes, I was in a different place there, wasn't I? Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Again, you were expecting some sort of highbrow, serious conversation about racial dynamics or something, and I gave you a really old advertising joke. So
There you go.
Thanks for that.
you passive aggressive cunt. Fuck it. Yeah, thanks, Gav. Yeah.
I think.
Right,
Thank you. I think we should all, at this point, have a moment of silence and just try and imagine how much better this would have been with Michael Rowlands in the chat. We miss you, Michael.
Yeah.
For
He's
love
lost
of God,
at sea.
save us.
Lost at sea somewhere.
He hasn't died. That'd be really awkward now, wouldn't it? Crikey.
Exactly. He's just tossing and turning with lots of semen at the moment. So I mean,
Nice. Nice.
Well, didn't he say the last place?
Something. Poop deck. There you go. That's my contribution.
Well, didn't he say the last place that he was going in his last video was something knob?
yeah, he's in a place called Yorkie's Knob.
Yeah, Yorkie's knob.
By the way, isn't the best name in Australia? That would have to go to Chinaman's Knob, which is both simultaneously quite funny and almost certainly has an incredibly racist history to it, I imagine.
Oh god.
That's the chink in Australia's armour, isn't it?
Hey.
Oh, blimey. Oh.
Well, this show is certainly peaking.
Oh yeah. When
It's taken
when you phone well, no, come on, you've gone too far. When you phone a Chinese restaurant and they put you on hold, do they play chopsticks?
No.
We're all going to hell.
I didn't imagine.
Right in the corner.
I didn't imagine I would come on here and fucking have all this nonsense. Being sort of, so what? Communist. That's the joke there.
I'll do one more related joke, and then we'll probably just finish and go and kill ourselves or something. Okay. I've noticed, boys and girls, that if I fancy a bet and I go into a bookies, these people in there. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be anything horrible. Every time I go into a bookies, there are always Chinese people in there, which is strange because I was always told that they hated Tibet.
Hey.
Oh.
It's a joke pun.
You really had to climb a mountain for that one. Jesus.
Oh, now we have peaked now, haven't we?
Hey. I'm trying to think now of a llama pun, because that actually works specifically just for Tibet though. But I can't. I'm dead.
Well, we don't have logical llama here, so.
Exactly. Well, again, to bring it back to the person who's missing. Yeah.
Shall we all go now?
Shall we all go now? We're going to hell.
I think we flogged this dead horse of puns as far as we can go. I think. We're going to go for 2 hours exactly, I believe. So I think that's probably a good time to wrap up. Unless any of you have anything else to say, anything on your mind.
Well, maybe you want to plug your podcast again.
No, I refuse to do proper work. It's against my ethics. But if I was to do proper work, then I would say, boys and girls, if you want to join the literally tens of people who have listened to my podcast over the last 2 years, then you can go to Spreaker.com or iTunes. It's a thing by Apple. And you can download the Anti-Social Media podcast, where we've got lovely things like more readings from Milo's book. And there's a lovely podcast where quickly say that a comedian in the UK called Suze Kempner, she was Sargoned, the father of a much hated dapper lass in this country, who some of you may have heard of. Well, his dad, spoiler alert, his dad, who's 60 odd, told Suze Kempner that he wouldn't even rape her, in sort of similar words to that, and ensued. So not really, he got banned, but it's a very interesting conversation with people like that. Talking with Beck Hill as well, about how women get trolled online and things that you can do to counteract that. She's got a very comedic way of doing that, but I've mentioned all these things in the earlier video, so I'll leave it at that. So,
but I would say definitely don't go and listen to that. Don't do that. Do literally anything. Cut off your own fucking toes before you do that. It's shit. Put that on a poster. There you go.
We're doing Oriental puns, so I will say that I'm going to come where you live and give you a Chinese burn right now, because you are a cunt.
The thing is, you'll notice I laughed, but I didn't disagree. So
yes. There's someone in the chat saying, "Wait, ASM has a podcast." Yes, I kept it quiet for many many years because I don't know how to plug it, but yes, it's true. So do go and listen to that. All the description, and because I've forgotten to do it already, I will also link you to the channels of the people who appeared on this chat, and they are in consecutive order: Wooly Bumblebee. And Kevin, my gobshite, Logan.
And I'm such a twat, right? Because when you did that, I haven't got my camera on, but I still put my thumb up to the camera. What a daft cunt I am. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I do a lot, what I think is a live stream approximately every 4 months. So join us in 4 months for the next channel, where I get to do things and not be able to read and have guests on
it was
to listen to the stuff that I'm fucking promoting.
But I loved it earlier. The stream you did earlier was fantastic, because it ended with you told a really funny joke and then went, "Oh, how do I end this?" And it was just 10 seconds of silence while you were looking around your screen.
And the great news is you'll be seeing that again in just a few seconds, because I have no fucking clue what I'm doing here.
Even though he did it 10 hours ago. How has he forgotten?
I know. I had to get Kev to describe in DM how to press 3 buttons. It was appalling.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Thank you all for coming, everyone in the chat and everyone who was in the stream. Let's say collectively, fuck Michael Rowlands, and then we go, right?
All right.
After 3, if you want. 1, 2, 3.
Fuck Michael Rowlands.
No one joined in. Shit.
And that didn't work.
Didn't work. Classic stream from me. So
I think that works. I think it would have been really.
Fuck you, Michael.
It would have been. It would not have been in keeping with the rest of the stream had that gone well. So.
In the chat, it just said, "I learned today how to pronounce Eritrea." So did I. I thought it was a bit on the underside of your penis, but there you go. It's completely something different. And on that bombshell, bye everybody. And here is the 10 minutes of silence while I try and press the button.
I just waved at my camera again. Fuck off, Logan, cunt.